Hey everyone, welcome back to Charlie Tech. In today's lesson, we are going to learn about form handlers in PHP. This is one of the most important things you must understand as a PHP developer. So, a form handler is the PHP code that receives and processes the information that a user enters into an HTML form. So, simply what I'm trying to say is that this is the file that handles the form data after you've clicked the submit button. So for example, you enter into a website and then you are asked to enter your name and then your last name and then submit. So once you tap the submit, it directs you to a blank a blank page, and then it gives you or displays the data that you entered into the form. So that page is what we know as the um, the form handler. You understand? So we are going to learn how they are created. So let's move on to our file explorer and then head on to our C drive and then open XAMPP and then go to htdocs and then let's create a folder. Let's name it as forms. But make sure that your XAMPP has been configured already. All right, so let's exit and then go to our VS Code and then load the folder into the VS Code. So open folder and then we'll search for the folder. We'll go to the C drive and then XAMPP htdocs and then we'll move to forms. Then we'll select that folder. So here we'll create three things. We'll create an HTML and then we'll create a CSS and then we'll create a file that will handle the the forms. You understand? So let's create index.php. So this is where the form would be created. So let me load my HTML boilerplate and then I'd add a CSS to it. So let me name it styles.css and then I'll create a folder and in the folder I'll name it as includes and then within the includes folder I'll create a file named as form handler.php. Alright, so when I'm done I'll save everything and I'll head on to Chrome and search for local host dashboard. Alright, so here you would go to the go live and then you click it. You'd copy the actual server address here and then you go to Chrome and then open your extensions icon and then paste it here. Paste it at the live server address. Then Control plus V, paste it there. And then you'd replace this dashboard with forms. So type forms. The name of the folder. The name of the folder we created was forms. So we'd come back here and then paste it here, forms. Alright, so let's save it. Let's apply and then come to our HTML. Let's see if something would come. So it should automatically save here. You can also refresh it, but then it will take time. So let me just do it again. Copy here and then paste it here. And when I'm done, let me dispose it and then click go live again. And then copy the actual live server address here and then paste it here again. Okay, so apply and then now let's try and um, clean this, save it, and then let's name the form handling. Let's change the title to form handling and see if it would work. So let's just keep on refreshing. All right. So the first thing we will do, this is where the form will be created, and this is where we would handle the form, and this is where we would style our form. So let us create our form. So to do that, we would create a form and then but let's store it inside the main tag, semantic tag. So everything inside the main. All right. So within it, I'll create a form, and then I'll give it an action. So the action would store this, would replace the name of the folder, sorry, the name of the file here inside the action. So we learned in get and post that the action is where the file would be sent, like the data of what you would enter in the form to be stored. You understand? So we want to store. So write includes, because we are dealing with a folder here. So we start with includes. The name of the folder is includes, and then a forward slash, and then the name of the file. So the name of the file is form handler. Then it will give it a method of, let's say, post or get. So we are using post over here. So we'll give it a post here because we are dealing with credentials. You can actually write it in capitals or small letters, but let me write it in caps. And then we write a label, and then let's give it a form of first name, and then let's write first name over here, and then let's come below the label and write an input, and let's give it a type of text, and then let me give it a name of first name, and then I'll give it an ID of first name again. Let's give it a placeholder of enter your first name. All right. So let's copy this, come here, and then paste it here. So let's replace this first name with last name. And I'll replace this with last name as well. And then I'll place this to as last name. So enter your last name would be here. So the last thing would add is that we want to create a selection input where you choose your favorite pet, whether a dog, a cat, or maybe an elephant, or maybe a lion. So let's come below here and then write select, and then we'll give it a name of favorite pet. But first, let me just write a label. Sorry, a label of, then in F4, let's give it a favorite pet. Let's name it as favorite pet. All right, so within the label, let's write favorite pet over here. All right, so we'll write a selection tag. So select, and then we'll give it a name of favorite pet, and then an ID of favorite pet. Give it an ID of favorite pet, and then within the select, we'll create our options. Right, so let me add a space over here so that it will be neat. All right, so let's add our options here. So our option, let's give the first value as none. That's if the person doesn't have a pet, let's give it none, and then let's copy this 3 times. So copy and paste, and then we would replace this with dog, and then I'll replace this none with dog, and I'll replace this with cat, and I'll replace this none with cat as well. Let me copy, let me paste it again, and then let me rename this to pig, because we have people that love pigs. They use pigs as their pets. So add a pig, and then below it, below the select, I'll add a button. So let me give it then type button, and then within it I write submit, and then within the submit I'll give it a type of submit. Write submit over here. So I'm trying to tell HTML it is a submit button. Right, so let me save it and then see that it is automatically saved here. So all of our forms has been displayed over here. So now let me click on submit and let me show you something. You can see that as when I clicked on submit, you can see that it's redirected me to this path because I have created a folder here, and then within the folder I've created a file. So it is directing me to that file. This is where the handling will be made. So here I'll write PHP code over here so that we can see what we are doing over here. You'll get an understanding of what. So this is where we would do the form handling. So that's why you can see that it is appearing as this because that is the name of the file. That is what I included. I included at the action form. You understand? Yeah. So I'll come to the method as well. I'll change it to get and see so that we get a deeper understanding. We refresh our brain of what we learned the last time. All right. So let's move on to the handling. Let's work on the handling first, then we'll later add the styles. So, because this is what is important. It is the logic of the PHP that is important. So, to do that, let's add, let's create our PHP boilerplate. All right, PHP over here. Let me close it. All right. So here I'll write if server what again? I think I've forgotten. Let me try and remember what I would write. So okay. So if server, and then we would write request, request method, and then I would assign it to let's say post, because that's what I specified at the method. So I'll write post here, and then I would come here and then open the curly braces and then declare some variables. So I'll declare this first variable as first name. Let me just make it first name, and then let me bring the space over here so that it will be clear. So first name, and then I'll assign it to an HTML special character. So let me try and explain what we did here. So this is telling PHP that it should ensure that the page only runs when the form is submitted. You understand? So if someone tries to access the form handler, it won't break. You understand? Yeah. So with here, I've assigned this to a first name. So within this side, I would write post, and then within it, I write first name. You write the first name that's written here. I would explain it to you. Let's copy it and then paste it here. All right, so let's end this. So this is getting the value from the form. So this HTML special character is preventing any harmful, like maybe if someone wants to attack the the form, this is actually preventing it from being attacked. You understand? And then this is the variable. So we are storing this inside this variable. All right. So the main purpose of this HTML special character is for security. So we are securing the form. All right. So let's copy and paste it for the last name as well. Sorry. All right. So here we would change this to last name. Let's go to our index.php and then copy. You have to make sure that they are the same. And then you come to the form handler and then you paste it here as well. You can copy it well. So last name, and then the last, we'll change this to last name, the name of the variable to last name. We are storing this inside the last name. And then let's come down and then write favorite pet. Favorite pet. And then I would assign it to HTML special character as well. And then I'll give it a post. Within it, I'll write this over here, the favorite pet. Let me just copy it and then paste it over here. And then let me end it here. So once everything is stored, let's come below it and then echo out something important. So we want to say that when the person submits, it should display, let's say, this is your data that, let's say, you stored, or maybe submitted, you submitted. And then it should show, it should show the, let me break this. Let me just break it over here. All right, let me see if I can just write it there without any error. So I'll save it and then I'll echo out the variables. So let me echo out first name and just copy and then paste it here. Let me end it. And then let me echo the last name as well. Let me change it to last name and then copy it. Let me end it and echo it here. All right, so let's save it and see. All right, so let's say I enter Charles, then let's say Dauda, sorry, Charles, then a last name of, let's say, Dauda, and then I chose a dog as my favorite pet and I submit. You can see that they are being they have been displayed over here. The data that you submitted has been displayed in the form handler. All right, so let's go back and then see if we can add some break tags. If we can add some break tag so that it can break into different lines. So the dot is actually what you call the string concatenation. I am trying to add the name to the break tag, the name of the variable to the break tag. So let me just, but in PHP we don't use the plus, we just use the dot for string concatenation, unlike in JavaScript and other programming languages that we use the plus sign. Let me save it. Right, let's say Marcus, and then write Aurelius over here. Then submit a dog and submit it. So you can see that Marcus has been appended. You can see that Marcus has been appended over here. And you can see that Aurelius has been appended over here. You can also see that dog has been appended over here. So this is what you can see, right? So basically, this is where the form handler is being stored. So we are trying to say that when you enter the data, when you submit the form, it should store it inside here. So this is where the form handler will be stored. It will be stored at the form handler.php. That is why when you enter the data over here, so let's say Luis, and then let me change this Aurelius to Pascal, and then let me give it a cut and submit it. You can see that it has been stored over here. All right, so let's say you used the get. So you know that the get would append everything to the URL. So let me change this method to get, and then change this everything here to get. Let me change this to get. So the get, everything will be appended on the URL, as well as I think it will be displayed on the inside the file as well. So let me save it and then save the HTML, and then let me go back. All right, so let me submit it. All right, so the get wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. So we have to use the post. So always remember that we have to use the post, since we are working with form handlers. We always have to use the post. If you use the get, it's not going to work. So let me replace everything with post. Replace this one too with post. Replace everything here with post. Replace everything here with post. Let me save it, and then save the HTML, the index.php, and then let me change the figures as well. Let's make it Emmanuel, and then make this donkey, and then let me give it a pig. So you can see that it has been appended on, or has been displayed on the page. Okay, now so let's style our form. So initially, this is how our form is looking like. So let's change some. So but first, let us link the CSS. So right link, then styles.css. Let's save it, and then within our CSS, let's style our form. All right, so let's select everything. Let me give it a padding of 0, a margin of 0, and then a box sizing of border box. Right, so I want everything to fit well inside my HTML. That is why I am using this. All right, so let's head on to the body, and then with the body tag, I want to give it a margin of 0. I've already specified it here, so let me re-specify it again of 0, and then a font family of, let's say, let me give it this. I'll change it later, and I'll give it height, and then I'll give it 100 VH, and then I'll give it a display of flex, And I'll give it a justify content. I want it to be in the center. I want everything to be appended in the center. And I'll give it an align. I want to align everything to the center. And then give a background color. I want to give it an RGBA. So with that, let me just write a linear gradient and then add a 130 degrees. And then I'll specify the RGBA. So RGB actually means red, green, and then blue. So we'll open it and then write 12, 1, and then 31, and then 0.7. And then I would add another color, another RGBA color, and then I would let me specify the colors inside. There's no need to memorize the styles because I'm actually styling my own thing. But then the most important thing is the logic. So you can actually style it your own way. So I'll add a comma and then add another color. I want it to be a mixture of different colors, like at least three colors, and then give it another and then one. All right, so and I'll give it a text color of white. Let me write FF. All right, so let me save it and then display what it has been. So this is the background color. I have set the background color to this color. All right, so let's proceed to the main, actually the form container. So I stored the form inside the main. So I give it a background of let's say an RGB color. Let me make it. Let me replace this with my own figures. Let me think about a color. Let me see. Let me try 255, and then another 255, and another 255, and then a 0.05. So I think it will give me a black color. Let me save it. You can see it has taken the color. This is the color of the form. So you can see it over here. All right. So let's move on to the next one. So we are going to give it a padding of 30 pixels for left and then a 40 pixels for right. All right. So we give it a border radius of 12 pixels. I want the form to have a rounded corner. So as you can see that the borders are rounded. All right. So let's move to our code and then add a backdrop filter. I want it to be blur. I want it to be blur. A backdrop filter of blur, and I want the blur to be, I think, 10 pixels. I want the and then a box shadow of 0 4 pixels, 20 pixels, and then an RGBA color. And then let me change this 7 to 4 so it becomes transparent. Or actually, let it take black. Okay, so let's save it and see. So you can see that this is the color of the form. This is the color of the form. All right, this is taking the color of ash. All right, so let's continue with the width. Let's give it a width of 350 pixels, and then let's save it and see what's happening. So you can see that everything has been appended. This is the width. You understand? This is the we've given it a margin and a padding, so we can see that there's a space in between the form and there's a space outside each input. All right. So let's move on to the form itself. But let's first start with the form, then we'll move on to the label. All right, so I made a mistake. I didn't specify it for. So let me just replace this with form, and then replace them. Let me create it for a main. Let me give it a width of 100%. Then I'll give it a display of flex. I want everything to be stacked as vertical, and then justify the content as center. I want everything to be as appended at the center, and then the padding. I want the padding to be 20 pixels. All right, so let me save it and see. All right, so you can see that it has it has been appended to the middle of the sorry of the card, the form card. All right, so let's proceed. All right, so let's move on to the label. All right, so the label, I want to give it, I don't want to select, I want to let the label be the same as the select. All right, so I'll give it a width of, let's say, 100%, and I would give it a padding of 10 pixels for the bottom, and then 0 for the content, and then 6 pixels for the top. All right, so I would give it a border radius of 8 pixels, and I'll give it border of none. I don't want it to have any border, and I'll give it an outline. I don't want any outline, so I'll give it none. I don't want any outline, and I want a margin bottom. I want a space under it, a margin bottom of 15 pixels, and then I'll give it let's say a background of an RGB color. So um, RG, let me choose any of this color, and then let me just change the values of it. Um, and another one. All right, so I said you should take a color of ash, and I'll give the text color to white, and then I would give it a font size. Let me make it either 15 or 14. Okay, let me make it 14 pixels, and then I would give. Let's work on the placeholder as well. All right, so let me save it, so you can see that it has. I think I have to finish with what I am doing. All right, so let's go back to our code, and then let's move on to the input placeholder. Right, so I write input. I want the placeholder to have a color. So to start a placeholder, this is how you would go about it. And you give it a color of a little bit of white, and then let me add. I don't understand why this. So let me check my code swirl. There's no error at this side. Let me check the main, and then let me check the form. Let me check the form very well. Let me give it a box shadow. Let me check the box shadow very well. Then check the width. Alright, so I have to work on the label as well. Okay, let me work on the label. Let me give it a display. That is why I am seeing something like this. So that's why I'm seeing something like this. Let me just change it. Let me give it a display of block, and then a margin of 10 pixels, 0, and then a 6 pixels of the bottom, and then let me give it a font size of 14 pixels as well, and then I would give it a font width that I want it to be a little bit faint. Let me give it 500. All right. If I'm not satisfied, I'll change it. All right. So you can see. Let me minimize this a little bit. So this is what you are getting. Let me finish with what I'm doing. All right. So I think let me check this very well. Um, Now let me save it. All right. So let's work on these inputs. So let's work on the inputs. So um, let me refer. I think I made a mistake. It's supposed to be inputs. All right. So all right. So the inputs has been done. So I was confused. All right. So this is our label. These are the labels. These are the inputs. You can see that the input has been done nicely. Now, what we have to do is to check the select. We have to check the visibility of the select options, and then we have to work on our button. Then we are done with the styling. All right. So um, I think let me fix the option. Then let's proceed to the button. So I'll write select, and then write the option, and then give it a color of black. Let me give it black. Let me just write 3 zeros. All right. So let me give it a background color of white. So 3 Fs. All right. So let's save it and see if it would work. All right. So as you can see, I have fixed it. You can see that they are showing now. So now let's proceed to the button. So write the name of the button. The name of the button was button, and then I will give it a width of let's say 100%. Should take a width of 100%, and then I should give it a padding of 12 pixels, and then I'll give it a background of an RGBA color. Let me just write RGBA. Let me choose one of these. No, let me just change the color and we'll give it to 80, 180, and then 0.8. Giving it a light move. All right, I like that. I think if I'm not pleased, I would enhance this a little bit. Enhance it a little bit. I'll give it a border of I'll give it a border radius. All right, let me give it a border radius rather. So let me change this to border radius to 8 pixels. I want it to have a rounded border. I want the button to have a rounded um, the corner of the button should be rounded. So 8 pixels, and I'll give it a font size, that's the text inside the button, of 15 pixels. And I'll give the color of the text, I'll give it white. So 3 Fs, and then a font weight, I want to decrease the color or the boldness of the weight. Okay, let me just increase it. All right, so it is increased. Let's me change. Okay, so you can see that when I highlight the button, you can see that the cursor isn't changed. So I want the cursor to change it to a pointer when I select the button. So to do that, I would give it a cursor of pointer. Let's save it. Pointer, I made a mistake. Let's save it. And then you can see that when it touches, when an icon touches the submit button, it automatically changes to a pointer. Now let's finish it, and then give it a transition. I want to add a transition like the hover effect. So I want to give it 3 seconds, 3 seconds, and then I'll give it a hover effect. So let me just write hover, and then give it a background color of RGBA. I have to give it a deep color, so 120, and then I'll give it 90, and I'll give it 220, and then 0.9%. All right, so let me add a transform translate. I'll translate to y-axis, so I'll give it a negative 2 pixels. All right, so let's run it and see. So you can see that our form has been styled nicely. All right, hold on, let me check the button very well. All right, so this is our styling for the button, sorry, the form. So this is our the code for the form. I would add it to the description, or I would just write and pin the comment. So this is for the HTML. So always you have to understand that to work with form handlers, you have to create a form first. Then when you are done, the styling is not really important unless you want to do it. But I wanted to style it, that was why. But then I think it's very necessary to style it too. And then this is the handler. So always keep this in your head. And then this is for the styling. This is the styling of the form. All right. So this brings us to the end of our lesson, and then that's how form handling works in PHP. So you would have to write your HTML form, and then you style it, and then you add a backend that would manipulate the handling of the form. All right. So if this made sense to you, make sure you like the video, comment, and then type your questions inside the comment section, and subscribe to the channel for more friendly tutorials.